Snow's going sideways. So this is the morning after Winter Storm Riley, and the snow really wasn't all that bad. As you can see, we had maybe a foot, so that's easily manageable. I haven't started working on this. I just get my snowblower out, and the roads are already plowed. You can see right there. The next morning, all I need to do is clear out the snow from my driveway and we'll be good to go. But the problem here was not so much the snow, I think, as it was the wind. We had like 50-mile-an-hour winds in the middle of all the snow, and it knocked out power to about 120,000 people, including us. And we are now about almost a full day into having no power, and we have no idea when the power will be restored. So, what have we learned from all of this? Tiny House Prepper. Hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth with Tiny House Prepper.
And here we are a couple days after the storm, Winter Storm Riley. And it's a beautiful sunny day.
It's gorgeous.
Still a little chilly, but it sure is beautiful. So, you know, we were out of power for a few days, and we like to take every opportunity that we can to test our prepper system. And when the power went out, the power company told us that it was going to be 6 days until the power came back. So we just kind of hunkered down for the duration.
Yeah.
And then 3 days early, we got our power back.
Oh, what a moment that was.
Yeah, we were very happy. All of a sudden, all the lights come on, and you know, all that in the middle of the night. No, it was about 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was very wonderful to see.
Yeah.
So, with 3 days of no power, what did we learn?
Yeah. How prepared were we for things?
Every-
Especially winter.
Every time we get a chance to test it, we learn some new things. So let's talk about what we learned.
Okay.
So let's go inside to do it.
Okay.
All right. Sunshine.
Yep.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
It's terrible thrower. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ah,
So, now we're all inside, nice and cozy, warm again. So what did we learn? First of all, water. We did a video previously talking about our emergency water supply. And talking about that we have a river not too far from here, and we have a Berkey water filter, and our plan is to go down to the river and bring the water back and filter it. And then I have a bicycle and a trailer for the bicycle to be able to haul it back. Now, I knew at the time that I did that video that would be difficult when it snowed, and I was really thinking that I need to get some sort of a sled or a toboggan that I can haul the water on, so I could walk down there in the snow and then put it on there and bring the water back. Well, that was almost the case. We live in a community that's a private community, and there's one community well that services all the homes in our community, which is about 30 homes or something like that.
At 29, I think. Yeah.
So we have one community well for all of the homes. And we have, the Property Owners Association has a gasoline generator that provides power to pump water up out of the well when the power goes out. So the power went out, it was in the evening, and of course the water went out right away. And so we went to bed that night and we had no water, and I'm thinking, great, I can't really go down to the river to get water because the snow's so deep, and it's, you know,
It was a blizzard.
it was a blizzard. But even so, the next morning when it stopped, if the power was out, I was going to be trudging through, trying to ride my bicycle through knee-deep snow, pulling a trailer, and that wasn't going to work. So I was thinking, yeah, okay, I knew I needed to get that sled, and here we are, and we need it. But next morning, hallelujah, probably the president of our association, though I don't know who did it, somebody braved the weather to get out to the well pump and started that generator.
Yeah. Whoever it was, appreciate it
we
so
really
much.
appreciate that.
Yes.
So the next morning we had water, and the whole time the power was out, the water was on during the day, and then they'd shut it off at night.
Right.
So it turned out we didn't have to go to the river, but it really showed a glaring hole in our system, because if we should have a serious emergency that would last for a long time, gasoline was not available to the Property Owners Association to run that generator, then if I didn't have a sled and it was snowing like that, we wouldn't have any water. So,
Yep.
so that's the next thing on the agenda, is to get us a sled to haul water.
We also really realized that if we have an idea that there is a fairly bad storm coming, especially the winds, because between the wind and the heavy snow, it took out power all over the place, then we need to be sure. It's just a good idea for everybody, put a bunch of water in 5-gallon buckets in your tub, or just do something so that you do have water ahead. And we knew better, and we had not been as prepared as we should have been along those lines. But that's just something, we do know that if you possibly can, you should try to.
Well, we did put aside a few gallons of water because we knew the power might go out. But, I'm sure people are going to say, well, why don't you just store water on a long-term basis? We live in 250 square feet. We don't have room. The only place we could put it would be out, out in the shed or outside somewhere. It would be frozen solid in the winter.
Right, and we've tried to figure out, you can do that on a short-term basis, but you can't leave water forever. It's got to be freshened up, and we're just trying to figure out how to kind of make that work.
Yeah, well, even if we could freshen it up, but the two main things is, one, we don't have room for it, and the other is it would freeze in the winter and wouldn't do us any good anyway. So.
Well, the main thing here is just to make sure, that, like I said, we had some water, but it would have been nice to have, just to get one of our 5-gallon buckets and fill it, just so that you can flush the toilet with it and stuff.
Right.
The other thing that I know people are going to ask about, and I would always think this would be okay, is why don't you just melt snow?
Oh, yeah. I tried an experiment.
Oh, goodness. Now I know why in these shows about Alaska, they don't just melt snow.
I took one of our largest cooking pots. It was about this big around and probably that deep. I don't know.
I got it for Christmas.
Yeah, what do you think it is? 2 gallons? It's not 2 and a half?
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
big.
Whatever.
And I completely filled it with snow to where it was over, it was piled up. And I put it on the stove. We have a propane stove, so, in our kitchen. So I put it on there, and I turned it on for a little while to heat it up, and then I just shut it off. And that thing, the snow, which was mounding up over it, compacted down to where it was about an inch of snow in the bottom, and there was still no water in the bottom. It was all just snow. As it continued to melt, we ended up with about a 1/2 inch of water in the bottom. Yeah. Probably not even a quart.
Right.
Probably a 1/2 quart out of several gallons of snow.
Well, and in a real pinch, that's at least some water, but it's not practical to melt snow.
It takes so much snow to make a little bit of water and so much energy to melt it that it's really not practical.
And once again, we don't have room around here to put huge containers of snow and just give them a chance to melt.
Right.
So, anyway, okay.
So, all right. So, talking about the stove, the cooking. Well, we have a propane stove and oven in our kitchen. So, we were good. We were fine.
Yeah, we cooked, fine.
If we should ever run out of propane, then we can cook on our wood stove. So, we're fine there, too. But something that I realized, I did a video a while back about how to do a do-it-yourself rocket stove out of bricks.
And boy, they work beautifully.
And it really works well. And I have the bricks out there. I could very quickly and easily rebuild that little rocket stove. And then I realized all the twigs that I would need for that rocket stove were buried under a foot of snow out there. I'd never be able to find anything to burn in it.
Hard-packed snow.
I realized if I'm ever really planning on using that rocket stove as an emergency cooking situation, then I need to have several 5-gallon buckets at least full of twigs that I can burn in it, or it's worthless.
Yeah, just something to think about. I mean, we have the wood stove, but
yeah.
Something could happen. I mean, we could end up in a situation where for some reason that can't work, or something has to be fixed with it or whatever.
Right.
And just to know we can still build a rocket stove to heat stuff on, to cook on. You need twigs. You don't need much, but you need twigs.
The rocket stove would be our third choice because we have the propane stove, at least as long as the propane lasts, and then we have the wood stove. Hopefully that would, last a lot longer because we want to have enough wood prepared to heat the place.
Right.
But the rocket stove would be the third choice, and if you can't get twigs because they're buried under the snow, it's not going to do you any good.
Just have to think about things like
Yeah,
that.
so that's something that came up because of the snowstorm that I never thought about when we were showing how to do the rocket stove.
Yep.
So anyway, if you're interested in seeing the video about how we will bring water up from the river on the bicycle trailer, or the video about the rocket stove, I'll put links to both of those at the end of the video and down below.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. The phone and the battery pack and entertainment, this all kind of goes together. We're not there yet.
Oh, sorry.
Something that we discovered is we don't realize, and most people don't realize, how incredibly reliant we are on electricity just for entertainment. You know, when we are here in the evening, I spend a lot of time on the computer working the Thrive business and working the YouTube business, which
Yeah,
it is.
takes time.
Because I'm doing editing and uploading and all that. And then when I'm not working at business stuff on the computer, we're usually watching YouTube videos or watching Netflix on the TV, because we don't have cable, but we have Netflix.
Yeah, we don't have regular television.
And when we're not doing those, both of us are very avid readers. And before, we've never thrown away a book in our life.
Yeah, oh, we love books.
And when we moved into this little place, we had thousands of books, and it broke our heart to have to get rid of all of them because we just simply don't have room.
Right. We don't have
So
very
we
many
found a
left.
really cool option that saves space, and that's the e-book, the Kindle book.
Yes.
So now we have hundreds of books on Kindle, and that's the way we read. But when we discovered that without power, you can't recharge your battery on your Kindle or your phone. And all of a sudden, here we were just sort of sitting
in the dark.
in the
well,
almost
sort of dark. Yeah.
just looking at each other every evening.
Which, I mean, is nice, but
And we realized that entertainment, or what you do at night, when all the lights are out and you're just sitting there looking at each other. So we have a battery pack. You want to get that for me? This was something that I bought online. I saw an advertisement on Facebook and I bought this. And this is supposed to be a solar charged battery pack to recharge your phones and things. Now, after I bought it, it doesn't have a brand name on it anywhere. But after I bought it, I discovered that it had been shipped from, like, I don't know, Lithuania or something like that.
yeah.
The battery pack itself, when it's charged, works very well. I can get 3 charges on my phone out of this.
Yeah, that's great.
But the solar thing here that's supposed to charge it, when it's in the sun, a little green light comes on there, and I think this makes just enough electricity to turn on that little green light, and that's all it does. It simply does not charge in the sun. I know there are other devices like this that will charge in the sun, and I'm going to be looking for them.
Yeah.
But so we have 2 of these. So we were looking at 6 days of without power. At least that's what the power company told us. And we thought that we would, if I sit there and read all day, it takes 2 charges on my phone, because I have a Kindle app on my phone. It takes two charges on my phone that eats it up if I read all day long.
Yeah.
So I knew this wasn't going to be enough. So this is a great option if you can find one that actually works in the sun.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't.
Well, because, beyond just entertainment, just having phone is so important. Not just for the
Right.
fact that we want to kind of keep up with YouTube comments and business stuff, of course, but communication. Hearing from the electric company with their little computer voice telling us we have 120,000 people without power.
Yeah.
6 days from they gave us a date and all this stuff. All that's important. Being able to just kind of see what's happening quickly with the weather. But communication and being able to check and see if somebody's okay or whatever. So being able to at least keep your phone charged at least some for bare minimum communication. We really try to keep these. We have 2 of them. We try to keep them actually charged all the time.
Well,
For an
to charge them,
emergency.
since the solar doesn't work,
You just plug them
to
in.
charge them, you plug them into the wall. And then
When you have
charge.
electricity.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
have it, right, exactly.
Right.
So, so in the evenings, so I have the computer which has a battery in it, and the phones which have a battery in it. But the computer, I wasn't able, like Tea with Jesus on Sunday, I wasn't able to upload it because the battery wouldn't last long enough.
We had it all ready to go, but we couldn't upload it. That's why we had to wait until we had
We waited until Monday when the power came on again.
Yeah. Came on surprisingly wonderfully early.
Yeah, so we were pretty much shut down. I was able to use my phone to occasionally access our Facebook group, and that's how I put a few comments on there about that we were out of power, but we had to be very careful with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, entertainment. Every evening we found that we were just sitting here with nothing to do. Well, there were other places in the area where power was actually still going, so we started going out every evening.
Well, and then, of course, that had to be after Bill cleared things enough, and because we had 2 major highways here completely shut down. So once everything opened back up and cleared up, then we could get moving again.
Right. I used a snowblower to clear the driveway and all that, and of course the car works, but we just didn't have power.
And I tend to try to keep the car topped off.
Yeah.
I don't like to let it get too low, just in case,
So Elizabeth has a membership at a resort nearby that has a pool and a hot tub and
I've been trying to go swim a lot.
and a weight room and all that. And I don't, but she does, and she goes 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Just to swim.
So we went there together one evening, and I spent the $10 for a day pass to go in with her, and we sat in the hot tub.
Well, and I swam.
You swam, and then we both sat in the hot tub. So we spent the evening there just to get out of the house, just to have something to do. The next evening, my father was without power, but the next evening he got power on because he lives in a larger city than we do.
Right,
So,
because we tried to keep an eye on him, make sure he was okay.
Right, so we went down and spent the evening with him, make sure he was okay, and then we were there where he had power. We were able to charge up
the computer and everything.
All of our devices.
It was luxurious.
And then the next evening, we had another evening planned to go over to another friend's house because they had power. But then our power came up, so we ended up not doing that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, finding places where you can get stuff recharged is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Of course, that's because it wasn't that long of a time, and I did have gas in the car. I mean, nothing around here you could get gas.
Right.
You had to drive quite a way because they didn't have electricity, around here.
So, everything we're describing here is something that we're learning to get through an emergency that lasts a week or two. If it's actually a serious end of the world type situation, long term, then things change a little bit. But,
right. And you have to have a sled in the winter if you want to go to the river and get water.
Exactly.
Right.
So, okay, we've actually talked about everything except this, and we did it out of order. So.
Okay. Well, no, we haven't gotten to that one yet.
Right. Okay, let's talk about lighting.
Now this has been really cool. You ought to show them a deflated one.
No.
Okay.
We had a oil lantern and a couple of candles. Of course, I lit those right away.
Right, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But we also, not too long ago, bought 3 Lucy lights. It's Luci. This is a Lucy light, and it's a solar-powered light. There's the solar panel.
And see, it comes all squooshed.
Yeah, it comes flat, and then you use this to blow it up. It's completely waterproof, and the lights are inside here. See?
And don't make it too bright on the camera. That's probably.
But there's a circle of lights in there. This is low, this is high, and then there's a blinky.
Probably just for
For
emergencies. Yeah.
And these lights are amazing.
Yes.
I will probably do a separate video and review these lights, but we have 3 of them, and we just hung one. If you hang it up from the ceiling, one will light the whole room.
Yeah, it's not a big room, but yeah, it gives this really unusual, soft, kind of an LED light, but it actually really works.
Right. So after we turned these on, we realized that the oil lanterns were so dim you couldn't even tell they were on, so I just turned them off. It didn't even make any difference.
Right. It's good to have in a pinch, but yeah.
So we had the solar-powered Lucy lights, and we just put them in the window every day to power up, and then every night we had these, and they were great. So we weren't sitting here in the dark.
No.
We were sitting here bored, but we weren't sitting in the dark.
And in the bathroom, we have a night light that is set up so that if the electricity goes out, it comes on right away. And that was nice immediately, just to have that little bit of light. It's an emergency night light. And anything like that, where all of a sudden everything around you is pitch dark, that little bit of light is nice when you're trying to get yourself situated to either get candles going or, of course, we have our phones. You can always turn the light on there as long as they've got, juice. So, but these little poofy things are just really cool.
like I said, I'll do a separate video review
Reviewing.
of these. So,
So,
okay, the last thing, freezer food. You know, because we have Thrive, we don't have a whole lot of stuff in the freezer. But we did have some meats because we had steaks. We like steaks.
some salmon.
So salmon.
Yeah,
things,
just a couple little steaks and salmon.
things
yeah.
that things that Thrive
Yeah, that Thrive wife.
doesn't have.
You know, because we do use other stuff too, of course.
We had a box of frozen hamburgers because Thrive has hamburger, but it's not in patties.
Right.
You can't make a hamburger out of it. You can only make things like spaghetti sauce and stuff like that.
Right,
You know,
which is
so.
great, and in a pinch that would be fine. But it's nice to occasionally have a real hamburger.
Yeah. So anyway,
I love the little salmon.
all that stuff started to melt, so we found ourselves in a situation where we had to eat it all up before it went bad. But it just, which was fine because we didn't have that much, and we were able to eat it in a couple days. But
Right,
it just
we
brought,
didn't lose anything because you're so careful.
it just really solidified for me the idea that having any kind of long-term storage that's frozen is not workable. Because unless you
Yeah.
have a generator to run it and all the gas that you need to run it, you're going to lose all of that stuff.
I mean, to some extent, if a person can keep, if it's going to be just a couple days and you keep it closed and you don't open it, it'll probably be okay. If it's a week and you have some kind of a generator and you've got gas for it, then you're fine. But
Well-
if it's very long at all, anything that's frozen is going to be lost.
We were out of power for 3 days and it was all melted by the time.
Right. I'm talking about the big freezers. You know, like a chest
the deep
freezer.
freezer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might take a couple days longer.
Right.
But
But
so-
the point is, in terms of relying on long-term frozen food, we just realized that, you know, we are so dependent on electricity.
Yep.
Incredibly.
So that's basically what we learned and what the holes that we learned in our system that we need to plug. And the only other thing that I didn't mention is heat. Well, that's because, you know, we have this little cubic mini wood stove and it's a beauty. And so it works well.
But of course, that means that you've got to be prepared. He was in no position to go out and be cutting wood when it was blowing and you know, the wind screaming. It was a pretty fun storm.
Yeah.
You know, being smart about that and just making sure that you don't let yourself get too low, and you're prepared to be able to use the wood. You know, all of that. Just thinking about, you know, if this happened, would I have what I needed ready? You know, it's just what it boils down to. So, sorry I was a little bit late on Tea with Jesus, but we got it out on Monday because the electricity came back.
Yep.
So that was really cool.
So that's what we did over our winter vacation.
Yeah,
And here's our essay.
yeah. No, I'm just so, like I said, but when we gave that other little thing about the storm before we lost electricity, just so grateful for a roof over my head. And I'm just been, you know, thinking about different people and kind of praying for them, and I would just really hate to not have a roof over my head when it gets like that. I can't even imagine.
Right.
So, and we're glad that they took care of them really well, and he has an apartment. His dad has an apartment in a really cute senior building, and they were really careful to keep an eye out for everybody, and so very glad to know that because he's a bit of a distance from us. So, alrighty.
So I hope maybe this gave you some ideas if you're not fully prepared. And, you know, we always think we are, and when we have opportunities like this to test it, we realize we're not still yet fully prepared, but we're getting there.
Yeah,
So-
we just keep noticing things.
Yeah, so hopefully this gives you some more ideas as well.
Right.
So. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching, and we appreciate you.
Very much.
Yeah, and if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe below, and you'll get more videos like this and more videos about our tiny living.
This.
Yes.
We try to be prepared for things, and we live in a little tininess. So, yep. And you know, if you can like the video, just because it helps.
Yep, it helps us a lot when you hit the like button. So.
Yep.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bless you guys.
Be blessed. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.